Well, as many of you know, we recently lost the former mayor-president of East Baton Rouge Parish, Melvin Kip Holden, who was a three-term mayor in what was a really booming period in Baton Rouge. It was an exciting time to be in Louisiana's capital city, and someone who was very intricate in the process of building Baton Rouge was his police chief. A part of Louisiana history, the first African-American police chief in the history of the Baton Rouge Police Department. And you and Kip came in together. I know that there's ceremonies for him. As we tape this, his services are tomorrow. And I know that you all have kept in touch, even since leaving office. I have to start with, what's your favorite Kip memory?
Man,
at least the one you can tell on television.
Well, yeah, the ones I can tell, right? So I think it was the jokes I used to pull on. Mm-hmm. I would steal all this stuff. He would get mad. So, you know, I was always in uniform, right? I was a uniform chief. So I wore a vest all the time. And I had a little knife that sat inside my vest. And, you know, one time he did something, I pulled it out on him. I said, man, don't make me cut you or something like that, right? So I would steal his stuff, and he knew I had this knife. So he would say, hey, man, give me your knife. And I say, for what? He said, I'm going to cut you. I said, remember, I'm armed. So I said, don't bring that knife to a gunfight.
What was that like going back to 2004? There was so much, I mean, your first 18 months, really 18, 19 months was really unprecedented. You lost a police officer within your first couple of years. Then you had Hurricane Katrina. What was that first couple of years like?
It was the first year.
Yeah. Well, Terry was August of that first year.
The first year.
Yeah.
And Katrina,
was
you know,
August of the following year.
No.
August
that year.
That's right. 05.
2005.
Yeah. Okay.
All of it was together.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think people forget sometimes that Terry was shot and killed. Mm-hmm. Neil was shot.
Yep.
In the leg and the knee, and Dennis was shot, and of course he had a longer recovery. But we had just really buried Terry, and then we went into Hurricane Katrina.
Right.
So we were still in the mourning process. We were still, you know, taking care of Dennis and Neil. We were still doing a lot of things, you know, still involved with that shooting.
Yeah.
So, and you know, and I'm gonna tell you, the mayor was there the whole way.
Yeah.
We would sneak into ICU. We weren't supposed to be in there, you know, they closed at a certain time. But we would sneak in and go visit with Dennis late at night and spend time. And then, you know, it was tough, right? He was a new mayor, politically savvy, but a new mayor. I was a brand new police chief, a young sergeant really that made police chief. And then we have this event where everybody moves into our community.
Right.
And, you know, the whole South Louisiana was in Baton Rouge. So, but we made some quick decisions, and they paid off. And, you know, we had good people, man.
Yeah.
We had good leaders on the department. And, you know, we were able to do some things like we used the same crew at the River Center every day. They worked the same hours. So the shift that worked from 6 in the morning till 6 in the evening, they were there every day. We didn't change them. They grew relationships with the people.
That's right.
They started to know who were there. They knew what their needs were. And then the people that came at night knew what time this one went to bed, what time that one went. And, you know, so it really worked out in, you know, some good leadership from the mayor's office, good officers on the ground, and we were able to get through that, man.
What was his process like? I mean, dealing with the Metro Council. Obviously, y'all had Walter Mansour there working with y'all as well. But what was his process?
So the first thing he did was put together a good team, and Mayor Holden was just politically savvy, man. He was, you know, he worked in the media. He had been, you know, Metro Council member. He had been a state representative, a senator, and he knew processes very well. So he knew what it took to go in and work with the council. He knew a lot of them already because he was just leaving from the legislature, and so he knew how to work processes. And then, you know, Walter was there, and then we gelled and formed a good team, and we just went to work.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when you think about where politics was then versus how it is now. And in full circle, you're back in City
I'm back.
Hall working with another mayor president, but in a different capacity. How is it different now than 20 plus years ago?
Technology is so much different. You know, everything is 24 hours, right? And, you know, when I was there wasn't a loop, right? It wasn't 24 hours. There was, if you didn't get it at 10 o'clock, you missed it at 6, you had to wait till tomorrow to find out. So today, everything is 24/7. You know, then there's the change in how the city dynamics. You know, we have a new city now. Borders are different. So we go all the way out to Segan Lane now. So yeah, just things are a little different. They look a little different, but you know what? It's still people.
Still people. When are you going to come do my podcast?
Man, listen.
I've been asking you to do my podcast for a year, so you know.
You know, let me tell you.
I know where you live too.
What's your name?
When you going to come do the podcast?
Oh, soon.
We work it out. All right.
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's work it.
So we're gonna meet at the Inspiration Center maybe next week too, right?
Yeah, I'm coming to see you. Oh, that's a beautiful place.
It's gonna be great.
It's beautiful.
My brother, love you, man.
Hey, man, love you back.
Hey, listen, remembering Melvin Kip Holden, he was a great, great mayor, maybe the greatest in the history of the city of Baton Rouge. Glad to talk to my friend Chief LaDuff. Back in just a moment. You know, speaking of Mayor President Melvin Kip Holden, former Baton Rouge Police Chief and the Executive Director of Capital Region Crime Stoppers, Johnny Dunham is here. And we were talking during the commercial break, and as all of us know, we all have a treasure trove of stories about Kip we could tell.
Oh, absolutely.
Most of them we cannot tell here on this television station. But what's your memory of Kip when you think about his time in politics?
Well, I mean, there's so much. You know, Kip was, he had worked for the police department. A lot of people don't know that when he was in school as a student worker in a PIO. So I don't have a specific story, but there was a story that my mother told me. My mother worked in the chief's office years ago. And she talked to Kip. She loved Kip, and she was talking to him, and he was working and studying in the office. And she asked Kip, you know, why are you studying? And he was like, going to law school. I'm going to be an attorney. And my mom was like, oh, attorneys are a dime a dozen, Kip. And he looked at her and he goes, not black ones. She's like, yeah, you know, you're right.
Might be a check and mate, right?
Yeah, that's right. She's like, oh, okay.
Well, look, we're honoring him this week, but let's talk about Crime Stoppers. Here we are wrapping up the month of May almost. Where are we as it relates to crime in the region in your perspective, and how have people been engaging with Crime Stoppers?
Well, you know, crime right now I think is actually down a little bit over the last several months. But, you know, Crime Stoppers itself, we had talked to the mayor, Mayor Edwards, about what we could do to help. And the mayor had a great suggestion in regards to raising our rewards he thought would help. The only issue there is Crime Stoppers nationally, we have an organization, a national organization, as well as locally across the state. When we raise our rewards, it affects every Crime Stoppers across the state and nationally. So he had a great idea about, you know, maybe just raising the rewards for a short period of time and raising those rewards. So we came up with an idea of raising the rewards. We're calling it the 48-hour rewards boost. So if somebody calls in, a lot of people know from watching the first 48 that first 48 hours of a homicide is extremely important for the detectives. If they can get that information in within that first 48 hours, the chances of them solving that homicide increase astronomically. So we did what we call the first 48 rewards boost. So if somebody calls in within 48 hours of that homicide occurring, we raise our rewards for a regular homicide from $2,500 to $5,000. We double it. For multiple homicides, we raise it from $5,000 to $10,000. So, you know, hopefully people won't sit on that information hoping that the reward's going to go higher, because it's not. After that 48 hours is up, the reward's going to go back down to its initial amounts. So, you know, that was one of the initiatives. We do have a tip on a homicide right now that's in the pipeline. And we don't pay on homicides until indictment, but we do have one of those reward boost tips that's, you know, hopefully going to help out, and we'll get an indictment on that particular case soon.
I got about a minute. Let's talk quickly about anonymity. I'd like people to understand, because I'm also a board member with Crime Stoppers. When you call, it is completely anonymous and your privacy is protected. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. You know, it's protected. Number one, we don't ask for your name when you call. The phone lines aren't tracked or traced or anything. So when you call 344-STOP, we're going to give you a code number. You're going to keep that code number, remember that code number, and when you call back in a couple of weeks to check on your tip, that's how we identify the caller. You'll give us the code number, and you'll also give us a little bit of an update on the information you gave, just so that we can confirm that you're the original person that called. And that's how we do it. And even through web tips, we don't track IP addresses. There's also a state law that protects certified Crime Stoppers organizations statewide from having to release any of that information. So even if the information's subpoenaed, number one, it can't be. But number two, even if it does eventually get subpoenaed, we don't know who the person is to begin with. We know them by their code number.
I love it. Crime Stoppers does great work, and Johnny Dunham is a great leader. I appreciate you, brother. Up next, George Bell has a treat for you going into Memorial Day weekend, and we'll talk about financial literacy for young people. Here's where you can catch the show. Let your friends know. Tell your mom and them. Friday night, 7 p.m. on Plus. Saturday at 3 o'clock, and you can always catch it on WAFB.com. Well, back with one of my favorites during the Education Spotlight. Donica Duggan with the Baton Rouge Alliance for Students is here with us. And here we are now in May, wrapping up another school year. I think if you are looking at EBR schools like it was something on the market, I think it's trending in the right direction. Do you agree?
I agree. You know, graduation time gives us time to take stock on what's accomplished and think about what's ahead. And I think we're going in the right direction.
Okay, so what are some of the wins for this year?
I think most significantly is the superintendent's realignment plan. I think that this stands to impact kids for generations in Baton Rouge by consolidating how we're serving students into better resources and making sure that we are doing that in smaller facilities and making sure that we're right-sizing the facilities footprint of the district. I think that allows us to concentrate resources where we need them the most.
Yeah, and what about literacy rates here in EBR?
I mean, we saw the great news on the nation's report card for the state. EBR is going in the right direction. Still more work to be done there as well.
Yeah, you know, budgetarily, everything is going to change. The superintendent does have pretty good relationship with the school board and the community. If you're looking at this budget right now, how would you advise the reprioritization of dollars?
Yeah, we are actually in budget season right now. I think that there are a couple things that I would be prioritizing. Doubling down on your literacy efforts. I think the work that's being done around these early literacy centers and making sure that you're concentrating resources in the lower grades and maybe having 2 teachers in those classrooms is really smart.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, we know that some schools need more resources, and really going to a student-based budgeting system where you say, tell me about the needs of the kids in that school, and that's how I'm prioritizing the resource allocations and making sure that we are concentrating resources where kids have the most need. Those are the things that I'd be thinking about.
How do you think we're doing with staff retention now? I mean, it's hard because you can only do what you can only pay what you can, and you've got Texas right there that's paying teachers so much more. What can we do?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of things that we need to be doing as a city to look at talent retention overall, and particularly in educators. I think that we have, you know, one of the highest numbers of teaching vacancies in the state in Baton Rouge, and so that's something that we've got to get laser focused on, because we know that the single most important thing that you can do to impact student outcomes is to have a great educator in front of them every day. I think that we've got to get really smart about the incentive packages that we're bringing. The superintendent's been talking about potential housing. We're talking about definitely increasing salaries and making sure that we're retaining those educators. But there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, we have a pipeline issue across the country, but some places are cracking that, and we've got to figure it out.
You are someone who, for all of us who know AD, she's a policy wonk, and that's been a big part of what you've tried to shape here in the region. Let's talk specifically about that. Policy-wise, how do you feel about the board's embracing of some change at the policy level? Obviously, the superintendent is keen to us needing to do it. Where would you grade that?
I think they're definitely thinking about big picture things. I think the difficulty when people get elected in the office is you want to get into the minutia. And, you know, I think the school board has a good understanding of what their role is, which is making sure that they are setting the conditions for success for students and making sure that they're holding the superintendent responsible for outcomes. I think it's really important that they continue to let the superintendent lead with his vision and really hold the outcomes as the measure of his success. And I think that they're doing that. And there's a lot of work to be done still on budgeting policy. There's work to be done on enrollment policy. There's work to be done in the policy environments, but I think that we're headed in the right direction.
Quickly here, school safety. That's always an issue. It's nationally. How are we doing with that?
We have got to get a handle on this. I think that this is a part of a larger community conversation around how do we make sure that our community is safe and livable. But I think that they're heading in the right direction. They've installed some new metal detectors, and they have new scanning, and I think that this is both a technology and a personnel issue, and we've got to do both of those things.
Tell me quickly, like during the summer, the thing that you will be focused on the most at the Alliance.
For a little while, we're going to be focused on this budget because budgets are a statement of values, and we got to get this right if we want to have the resources in place to serve kids next year.
Adonica Duggan with the Baton Rouge Alliance for Students. She'll be here during the summer as well, keeping you up with what's happening in the school district and education in the region. And we're going to talk about Baker too the next time she's here. All right, what we got here, Alyssa? I got a couple things I need to do. Tease first. All right, how about this? This young lady, Jessica Michelet, is a testament to her mother, who 20 years ago is the reason I started looking at television, and her father, who keeps me on time and on track every week in this show, Kirk in the back. Congratulations, Jessica. Thank you for what you're doing already. And the C-Suite, the current edition right now, features a conversation at Doe's Eat Place. And I apologize in advance, Johnny Asian was on that show. So this is an amazing topic, financial literacy, but for young people. This is so great. An event is happening this summer on June 7th by the Middleburg Institute. Joyce James is here to talk about that. Invest Fest Crawfish Boil.
That's
Tell me about this.
Yes, we are hosting our first annual Invest Fest at the St. Gabriel Community Center on June the 7th, as you noted. And it is in collaboration with our Young Investors Matched Savings Account.
I love this.
Yeah.
It is such a missing element of what we give to young people to prepare them for life, financial literacy. So what are some of the things they're going to learn at the fest?
Well, we've already started teaching our young investors. We started in February. We start in the 4th grade and we go all the way to the 12th grade.
Nice.
And we're teaching budgeting, investing, banking, all of the behind the scenes things that happens in banks.
Yeah.
But the good thing about it is that we're matching their savings account.
Hello.
Dollar for dollar.
Dollar for dollar.
Dollar for dollar, up to $100.
How long has the Institute been around?
We've been around since 2004.
2004. So 21 years.
No, I'm sorry. I'm apologizing. We've been around 12 years. So
12
that's
years, okay.
14.
2000,
yeah, 12.
Okay, right in there. So let's talk a little bit about the importance of financial literacy. There is the website for the Middleburg Institute. Let's talk about financial literacy and how it gives kids an opportunity to actually live a more secure life.
Well, when you teach children at a younger age how to manage money, how to take control, it gives them a sense of leadership, it gives them self-esteem, and it also protects them financially to make for a better economic security for them and their families.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've surveyed and asked different folks, and they say, I wish someone had did this for me when I was younger.
Particularly in communities of color, it is a conversation that never really goes on, and that is how to manage money, understanding finances, which leads so many people to trouble later on in life. I think what you're doing is fantastic, and you always have a spot here to talk about it. I got like 20 seconds. Tell people where they can learn about the Middleburg Institute and also sign up for the fest.
Right. Please visit our website at www.themiddleburg.org, and you can call 225-241-0984 to learn more. We look forward to vendors and
So quickly,
visitors.
You also told me that you have space for kids and vendors right now, right?
It's a kid-friendly, we're going to have face painting, bouncing houses, a lot of that. So come out and enjoy the day with us.
Who's boiling that crawfish?
It's a company called Magnolia Ball and Eat, 2 Southern University graduates.
All right. I love this. I love this. So it's June 7th.
That's right.
And you can sign up now if you want to be a vendor. I think the Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice Foundation will sign up to see if we can get PAL out there.
Yes.
And look, it's the best thing you could teach a young person is how to manage money. That's a great thing. All right, as we go into Memorial Day weekend, the great George Bell is here to honor America with America the Beautiful. 2 bits of advice: stay hydrated, stay cool this weekend. And here's George Bell doing his thing.